Hi everyone, this is Rohit and I am embedded firmware guy. I just wanted to share my first and simple photo design that I have made for an STM32 based project using ESP32. So before I go into what photo is, let me tell you the difference of photo in general computing machine and even embedded systems. In general computing machines like your phones and your laptops, we often see updates regularly. There are system updates that will usually fix problems or add more features to your device or an application, or sometimes you have software to make the ecosystem compatible, or you have software that can integrate with the world. Sometimes you also have update that fixes your security patches, security patches which are important because your device connected to internet means making your device vulnerable to many attacks. So how is your updates different in embedded IoT devices? First of all, in general computing missions, the updates you get are software updates. That means they are very less related to the hardware problems. And firmware is something that is directly interacting with your hardware. So so in general computing machines, most of the updates are software based updates, while in embedded IoT devices, these updates are firmware based updates. And most of your embedded devices are connected to internet on very low bandwidth connections, and they also run the software is ran on the most memory constrained chips, like all the microcontrollers and all. So these are memory constrained chips, and most of the time you have these devices out of reach of human hands. That means they are located far away, or sometimes they're on Mars, roaming around Mars or analyzing Mars atmosphere, or they might be even under the soil monitoring your underwater cables, or they might be under the ocean monitoring your underwater pipelines or cables. So it's difficult for them, for anybody, to bring these devices back and update all the required firmware and put it back. It not only takes up huge cost, but it's a big task for any company to do all this stuff from the start. So also sometimes embedded device engineers, based on the deadlines, they tend to, or any software or firmware guy, tends to for tends to forget some features, or also the tester who was testing might not have got the full view unless the device is in the field. So it is always required for you to have an architecture or a design that will allow you to update these changes remotely. So it's always, as an embedded firmware guy, your duty must be to make designs such that you can have these updates remotely. So even in the past, we have seen some companies paying heavily for not having photo as a feature. Maruti had to call almost 4,000 to 5,000 units of their car just to fix their problem in the ABS software. This could have been avoided, I think, if they had photo as a feature. At least the callback could have been avoided, which could have saved them a lot of money. And so that's the main advantage of having photo. So apart from this, we have some, I think we can take away few important things, like should how important is it for anything to have internet connection, or how important is it for anything to have photo as a feature. That is based on, again, dependent on the use case. So how important is the device actually required to be connected to internet, then that and how much cost it has to pay for being connected to internet, or what kind of device is it, how many updates you might be needing it to uh, make it stable, or how long has the testing process gone into. So all these things are really to be considered when you're thinking of answering these questions. So just show you my simple photo design, or my first simple photo architecture that I've designed for an STM32 based project. So before I go into my photo architecture, let me show how what the device does and what is the block diagram of the device. This is an STM32 based LoRa concentrator that usually sends out the radio messages received on LoRa onto the 4G module. So this an STM32 is an host microcontroller that is sitting and communicating between the 4G module, that is EC25, and the LoRa module, radio. So here in India, we are running this LoRa on an 865 megahertz band, so it constantly receives any message on LoRa and sends it over 4G. Actually, the it was all working fine here in India. We didn't have anything as firmware a feature of FOTA with this device itself, but we had to ship this device to Spain. So that is the problem when we thought, like, is this module, is the EC25 going to work as same as how it was doing here in India? We were not very sure on how EC25 would do there in Spain. So we wanted to be sure that we could update the firmware in STM32 anytime without much problem to the client. So we wanted to somehow remotely update the firmware. So with the existing design that we had, it was not possible. So we had to somehow tweak something in this, or change some hardware, make some hardware change in this, so that we could do the firmware update remotely. So otherwise we should or otherwise the client should have the programmer or USB to DTL, and he should open the screws of the device, and he should tamper the device and get into put in some wires. That is actually, that's painstaking for the client, and even for us as a device manufacturer. So it was necessary that I had to do something urgently. So back then I was not very well aware of what custom bootloaders are. So I didn't have much time to learn about custom bootloaders to make something great. So I had some little bit knowledge on ESP32, and I had worked on STM32 UART bootloader. So we had many ESP32s lying around. So we took one ESP32 and connected to the STM32 host MCU via UART. So what this does is and the UART through which STM32 is connected was the one UART bootloader. So we could somehow connect the ESP32 to the Wi-Fi, and then mm, and then keep checking on the cloud if there is an update for the STM32. Then it could right away download the firmware and flash the STM32. That was the whole idea. So we started building. We took ESP32 and started designing the architecture. So first, for what we thought was what we had required was a continuous cloud server that was running somewhere, and there is an ESP32 that connects to the internet, and it keeps checking for the signature of a file that is there on the ESP32, as well for the signature that is there on the cloud. When if there is a change in the signature on what is present in ESP32 and what is present on the cloud, it immediately downloads the bin file that is there and insert STM32 into the boot mode. So here actually even STM32's boot pin and reset pin are also connected to the ESP32. So upon successful download, the firmware is flashed onto the ESP32. Upon the successful firmware flashing, ESP32 changes the MD file, the MD5 file signature to the new MD5 signature. So if the firmware upload fails at any process, it again initiate the boot into boot mode and keep retrying. So this is a simple photo architecture that we built immediately to solve our need. So this was working very fine. Also there was small UI for user to just log into ESP32 and just enter the Wi-Fi credentials. once the Wi-Fi credentials are just given to the internet or to the ESP32, it just do its work. So just like anything, just keep checking for the changes in the bin file, and just if there is a change, and download and do the stuff. So it was very finely working. So it solved a lot of problem. And for the remaining, if you want to know more about the UART protocol that is used for bootloader, so you can check out STM32's app note AN3155. There's a protocol for which this thing works. There are certain commands that you need to call out for initiating the boot mode and all. So you can use this thing to write your own photo thing on using any chip. So we could have done, if I had proper knowledge on custom bootloader back then we could have used some cheaper radios of ESP12 or ESP8266, which in itself doesn't require any programming program to be loaded into. So before we complete the device, this is how actually our device looked like. So we had to barely solder the ESP32 with wires and all to our product, and later we had to connect it with the whatever 4G module that was there and ship it over to Spain. So later, the only reason which we were not confident was with the EC25 module was Quectel was not sure at all in the first place whether they were supporting certain telecom operators in Spain, like Telefonica and all. So that is why we had to be sure whether we can update our firmware from anywhere in the world. So this was working fine, very fine, and solved our purpose. So even in the past, we have seen some interesting photo stories that actually saved a lot of money and saved a lot of work as well. So here the most important thing is the traction control algorithm, updating the traction control algorithm of the Curiosity rover that is on the Martian surface. This is the most, that is millions of miles away from us, and the way we could update the firmware in it is very fascinating. And nowadays we see our Tesla cars such a fast update, and with a simple updates you could go now extra miles. Those are something very interesting as an embedded firmware engineer to look on how things are updating their firmware. And other thing what I found interesting was an firmware update in pacemaker. See, pacemakers are also vital systems that goes into our human body, and then if any small firmware change is there, then it could cause potential harm to human body. So it's important that somebody made a design, they could update firmware in it. So, and with any feature there comes vulnerability. So even with the photo, there are vulnerabilities that should be handled. So you must always balance the security aspect of the photo and the ease of which you can update the firmware. So there's a case which happened with Cherokee, and the Jeep, which is owned by Fiat Chrysler. Two hackers in US, they took down a car, the moving car that was that actually had photo system for its infotainment system. So there was some bug that let them do this. So you have to always be careful on how this should actually be implemented and all. So that's it. Thanks for listening. You can subscribe to my channel, and please do mail me for any queries.